When it comes to inclusion, I don't like labels, but here are a few of mine anyway. I come from Leeds in the north of England. I'm British Indian. I have my own business. I'm the governor of a specialist arts university and I guide the board on equality and safeguarding. I'm the chair of a theatre company which encourages young people to enter the arts sector and nurtures young talent. I'm a former commissioner of European programmes. I was also the director of a UK non-departmental public body, bringing together employers to consider diversity and inclusion when it came to their employment and skills programmes. Hi, my name is Anj Handa and I'm the founder of Inspiring Women Changemakers. It's a movement of people who are focused on creating fairness and safety for women, whoever they are and wherever they live and whatever they do. I've worked in the field of diversity and inclusion since 2003, guiding organisations and institutions like yours to consider what they need to do to make their programmes, policies and practices more inclusive. I've worked with employers, large and small, from all kinds of sectors. I've also been an Erasmus student and have studied abroad at the University of Passau in Germany. And it's with all of these diverse perspectives that I would like to speak to you today about how you can make Erasmus Plus and all the other programmes that you commission more inclusive. National agencies can make their policies and programmes more inclusive for marginalised people by focusing on the different stakeholder groups that they work with in order to reach a wider pool of talent and participants in their programmes. The first step is really understanding who it is you want to target and why, and this is where statistics come in. Now, statistics are definitely not the full picture, but they are part of the picture. They will help you to identify which groups you are not reaching. They might tell you that you have not reached enough young people with disabilities. They might say that you're not working with enough minority, ethnic participants, or they might tell you about your gender balance. And the way you can address this, once you've identified who it is that you are not engaging in your programmes, is by working with grassroots and community-based organisations who have the trust of the young people that you seek to engage, but they also speak in a language and have the networks and the focus that you might lack. So an example of the way I have done this is through my Inspiring Global Citizens programme. I've reached out to community-based organisations and also partnered with other organisations to ensure that I am reaching a wide range of young people. I've worked with young people to enhance their voice and get them to speak up for social action. Some of the modules that we have worked on include resilience, emotional correctness, and life purpose. And for me, the main thing was to reach out and make sure that I was connecting with these partners who could better help me to engage the young people. When it comes to your programmes, there are various stakeholders that you will have to consider. We've talked briefly about community organisations and grassroots organisations. There are other stakeholder groups as well that might prevent young people from engaging with what it is that you have to offer. You would also need to think about your supply chain. We've touched on partners, which could be your delivery partners or your community-based partners, but really it's looking wider at your whole supply chain. Do they represent the minority groups that you want to work with? Are they black or brown led? Are they run by somebody with disability? Who are those people that are supplying your services? Because they also in turn can influence your thinking and the messaging that you put out there. Agencies should avoid labels like hard to reach, or for example, here in the UK, we have a term BME, which means Black and Minority Ethnic. These are labels that I find unhelpful and cause separation. They place a distance between the individual and what it is you want to do because they don't cover nuance. And as one asylum seeking woman said to me, why am I called hard to reach when actually I have my phone with me 24/7? And while this was a humorous point, it was very relevant because she was right. It wasn't she that was hard to reach. It was that organisations did not know how to reach her and best support her according to her own individual needs. So that is an unhelpful label. And the same with Black and minority ethnic. What that term does is it lumps a whole group of people together in a homogenous group, and it doesn't take into account the things, the barriers that they might be facing, or even some of the skills and attributes and life experiences that they have to join your program as a full person. Personally, I prefer to be referred to as brown, Indian, South Asian, or actually by my name. We can further engage with young people from diverse backgrounds, not just through the grassroots organisations and community organisations that I've already referred to, but also online. And this must form a key part of your communications and marketing strategies. Where do the young people hang out? What kind of language are they using? As people in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, we do not speak the same language as our young people. And sometimes we might use terms in our marketing and communications that is old fashioned or irrelevant to young people. So, having included them in your design and development of your marketing and communications messages is crucial. Maybe that would be through focus groups, through asking them to review your content, maybe as a project through Erasmus Plus, but really ensuring that the voices of young people are being accurately reflected in what it is you do. And by doing so, I can guarantee that you will have greater engagement. I talked earlier about being a lead governor on safeguarding and equality, and this is something that I feel very passionately about because in many European and international programs, I do feel that safeguarding is often missed. My own parents wanted to ensure that I would be safe before allowing me to join an Erasmus program in Germany. However, as a British Indian woman, I looked very different to the ethnic minorities that were in Passau, and it set me apart. And while I didn't experience racism as such, in fact, people were so positive and wanted to know why I'd chosen Passau and where I came from in England. It did single me out for attempted sexual abuse on two separate occasions. And what I must say is the coordinator that was responsible for student welfare had focused primarily on accommodation and the course content rather than other concerns such as physical and mental well-being and our personal safety. And so I didn't go to her and I had to use my own networks to protect myself going forward. So this is something that I urge national agencies and local organisations to consider when they are designing and launching their initiatives such as Erasmus Plus. To improve your own understanding of diversity and inclusion, there are many places that you could start. There are people that you can follow on social media. That didn't exist when I started campaigning in my 20s. And I find Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook all rich sources of connections and information that help me shape my thinking. And even though I've worked in diversity and inclusion since 2003, I am learning on a daily basis. So create lists, for example. You could go onto Twitter and use it as a way to curate information by following organisations and academic institutions that are writing about and producing other forms of content, such as documentaries and films and clips, about the diverse groups that you want to engage. So that is one way to do it. Um, the other way is simply by having conversations, so making sure that you are connecting with people, have a Zoom chat, have a call, get learning about all of the issues that people from backgrounds different to your own are facing. I make that a regular practice, and I certainly know that my own understanding of what other intersectional groups are experiencing. So, for example, other women with disability, other women who are LGBTQ, who are lesbian, gay, or queer, or trans, and broadening my own perspectives and challenging myself, being willing to have these sometimes uncomfortable discussions or learn something that I really didn't want to read about, but it's fundamental to building our own knowledge. Another way you could challenge yourself, apart from reading material, and there's so much out there if you connect with change makers who are constantly sharing this information, as I do, is to challenge yourself to name maybe 3, maybe 5, maybe 10 young people who are queer, who are disabled, who are brown, who are black, or who have another minority characteristic that is not representative with what you are currently delivering. In conclusion, we have covered so much on this short training, and there are various recommendations that I have made to you in enhancing Erasmus Plus and your other programs. But there are some key things that you need to do when you are doing this. I've issued you the challenge of naming some young people from diverse communities, but do your benchmarking exercise. Look at the statistics which are readily available from national and local governments. Use that information. Talk to grassroots and community organisations who better understand those groups. Make sure that you are working actively with them to engage young people, and pay them for that service as well. So you might bring them into your supply chain or engage them in different ways. Consider your communications. How are you shaping that? And are you really truly doing that with young people from underrepresented groups? Because if you're not, you need to start doing that right now. Have a look at the different stakeholder groups and consider who it is that you haven't engaged with yet. Map out those stakeholders. So they would include the young participants on your programs. Who are they? How are you going to reach them? Do a plan around this. Who are the other people that will influence them? Maybe it's their peers, their parents, their wider family, and wider youth groups as well. Some of the organisations that I have worked with to enhance my own programmes include Junior Chamber International and UK Youth Parliament. There will be those institutions and movements in your own country too, so make sure you're adding those to your stakeholder lists. Then there will be your suppliers and your partners, your funding partners too, so don't miss those off. And how are they being inclusive? What can you communicate to them to make their programs and their policies more inclusive? And then finally, you yourselves, talk amongst your peers, ensure that you are having these uncomfortable, sometimes, conversations regularly. Seek to listen, watch, learn, understand, and believe. Thank you so much, and I hope you found this useful. Bye.